Misty. I'm an academic advisor at the College of Engineering, and I'm here with a couple of students. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi guys, I'm Ryan. I'll be a senior in the fall studying biomedical engineering.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm going to be a senior studying mechanical engineering.
Yeah, so we'll be helping your students today, sharing information with them and assisting them as they schedule their classes for the fall. So, let's see. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll make a couple of announcements here, and then students are going to go to a computer lab where they'll have their student presentation and then start scheduling their classes. And we will have a separate presentation and discussion, and we'll go over what the students are doing in their presentation and some additional things. And then we will probably finish in about an hour. It's not going to take very long for our presentation, but the students, because they do have to build their schedules, it does take some time. Most of the students should be done by 4:30 or so. So the thing we wanted to stress with everybody here is this program called EON. So this is available to all incoming students, and it's an opportunity for you to connect with other new students in the College of Engineering and current students in the College of Engineering. So it's going to be Sunday, August 21st at 9 a.m. in Thomas Building, and it's a really great way to connect with people. And if you have questions about, the different majors in the College of Engineering, you can get a student perspective, or even things like, I'm taking this class, should I rent the book or should I buy the book? Those types of things are really great to ask our more experienced students. So please make a note of this, plan to attend. All right? So now we're going to ask the students to stand up, and they're going to go with Ryan to the computer lab. Picking a general education that isn't exactly what they had in mind, but still sounds interesting. Other students just keep working and working and working till it's as close to perfect as possible. So those are some of the different things that we see. Well, we'll make sure when everybody leaves today, they're in a schedule where all of their classes are fulfilling requirements for their major. Okay, so the presentation upstairs is about an hour as well. And the advisor up there will go over some basic information about different majors in the College of Engineering and the entrance to major requirements for the different majors. We'll discuss them too, because this information is going to be really, really important for your student, and you can support them by being aware of what they need to achieve in order to enter their major. They're also taking a look at how to make their schedules for the next semester, what types of classes to take, how do they figure out what to take, and then also how to use the tools to register for them. And our student, Ryan, will also talk about what they need to expect in terms of studying, how many hours a week they need to study, and different ways that they can get those study hours in. So those are just some of the highlights. Then students are going to start working on the computer, scheduling their courses. One by one, they'll be called to meet with faculty advisors in a separate room. So they'll have a one-on-one consultation with a faculty advisor, and then they can return to the computer lab and make any changes to their schedule or finish scheduling. So that's what the process looks like in the student group. We're going to talk about policies and procedures, advising, as I said before, entrance to major, maybe discuss a little bit how you as family can support your students, and talk about engaged scholarship and other opportunities for students. So in the College of Engineering, they prepare students to be world-class engineers. But world-class doesn't just mean the best, it has all of these different components. So for example, they're solidly grounded in their major. They have the depth of knowledge that they need and the experiences they need to be successful, but they're also technically broad. They learn a bit about all different fields and concepts in engineering because there's so much collaboration that's going to have to take place. They're globally engaged, and later in our presentation we'll have a visitor talk about study abroad opportunities for students in the College of Engineering. Ethical, innovative, excellent collaborators. Again, in this field, it's very rare that someone is just working independently. There's a lot of teamwork, and they'll have that in their classes and prepare for that. And visionary leaders. So these are the things that we value, and hopefully your students will see these themes woven into their coursework, their first year seminar, and that sort of thing. All right. When your students start, so from now for the next year and a half or so, they're in pre-major status. So everybody who's new to the College of Engineering comes in and their major is ENGR, which just means pre-major engineering. During this first year, students should be looking into different options for majors, or if they're set on one or torn between one or two, learning as much as they can about those specific fields and figuring out what's going to be the best fit for them. There's a few different ways students can do this. They can go to our major nights, where they can meet faculty and learn about the different programs. We also have in the Advising Center, faculty from the different majors hold office hours. So a student, say if a student is torn between aerospace or civil engineering, she could come in and schedule an appointment with each of those faculty advisors, and then really get a lot of information about the two programs and figure out what might be the best fit for her. Then when students have between 40 and 59 cumulative credits, they will declare their major. This typically happens fall or spring of sophomore year. In this credit window, AP credits do not count, and transfer credits do not count. These are only credits that students have earned at Penn State and that they've received a letter grade for. So it works out quite well. In the past, students could only enter their major at the end of sophomore year. So students who were a bit ahead kind of had to wait, and some students who maybe needed more time couldn't have that time. So this new policy is much more flexible for your students and allows them to enter their major at the best time for them. Hello. All right. So once a student has completed everything they need for their major, they will officially move into it, and then at that point, they will have a faculty advisor assigned in their department. Okay. So again, 40 to 59 credits is when students will declare. Students also need to have a C or higher in their 6 entrance to major courses. And we'll go over what those are in a moment. At Penn State, to stay in good academic standing, students need a 2.0 GPA. This is what they need to, say, change a college or declare most majors. However, in the College of Engineering, our programs have a lot of student interest, and we need to have ways to limit the number of students who go into a particular program. So we do have enrollment controls on most of our majors and a higher GPA requirement. But we'll go over what those specifically are. The entrance to major courses that all engineering and computer science majors need are Math 140 and 141, which is Calculus 1 and 2, Physics 211, which is Mechanics, and Physics 212, which is Electricity and Magnetism. So these are common among all students, so you'll likely see some of these classes on your student schedules for the fall. Then we have a split, where the engineering majors take Chem 111 and Math 251 or Math 250. Each major determines whether they want 250 or 251, and that's differential equations. For computer science majors, their last two classes are Computer Science 122 and Math 230. So there is a bit of a split there. We have a new major, it's called Data Science, and we're collaborating with other colleges at Penn State, Everly College of Science and Information Science and Technology. So those entrance to major courses are a little bit different. And the information is available online if your student's interested in that program. So I mentioned that we have enrollment controls in some of our majors. The reason why is, again, to control the number of students who enter a particular major. So this doesn't mean that certain majors are better than other majors or anything like that. It's just a balance of what we can offer. So maybe we have a really small department, but a lot of students are interested in it. So that needs to have an enrollment control so fewer students can enter. So we make sure we have enough faculty to teach the classes and enough lab space and all of those things. So when we talk about supply and demand, it's not, it has nothing to do with the world outside of Penn State. It's just at Penn State, the number of students who want a particular major and the space they have available. However, having said that, if a student meets the entrance to major requirements for a major, they are guaranteed to be accepted. So these entrance to major requirements are set right now for your cohort of students. They're not going to change even if a lot of students manage to make that criteria. So the majors on here that have an asterisk, these majors are not enrollment controlled, and what that means is students do not have to enter during the 40 to 59 credit window. All the other majors without asterisks are enrollment controlled. So a student would need to, before they have 60 credits, complete those 6 entrance to major courses with a C or better, and have the GPA that they need to enter their major. It's very competitive at times, so these GPA requirements are firm. So if a student wanted to do aerospace engineering and they finished their entrance to major semester with a 2.99, even though they're so close, unfortunately, they would be denied. So keep that in mind. These GPAs aren't going to change. They are what your students need to shoot for. And it can be very challenging. The courses that they have to take are some of the hardest classes for first-year students at Penn State. So even students who are at the top of their class in high school need to know going in to take advantage of tutoring and study groups and all of those resources, because they really, there's a lot riding on their GPA. Are there questions about this? Yeah.
The ones with the asterisks, you said they don't have to be in the 40 to 59, that means they can be after or before, or what's the...
Right, so the ones with the asterisks, they can declare as long as they're at least third semester, so fall sophomore year typically, but they can have over the 59 credits. So either way is fine. Yep. And they need this GPA to enter the major. Once your student's accepted into a major, they do not need to maintain this GPA. It's just to enter. After they're accepted, they just need to stay in good academic standing, which is a 2.0. Any other questions? Yes?
The 40 to 59, that has to be completed with a grade, or it has to be in a semester where the student is reaching, say, 40th or 45th?
Right, so it's credits that they have completed. So a student can be in, say a student has 50 credits completed, and during that semester they're in their last entrance to major class. But when they finish that semester, they go over the 59. They can still apply to the major. They need to have the GPA going into that semester, and then their approval will be conditional on whether or not they pass that last class. So in the fall, we're going to have group advising sessions with students to go over all the different scenarios we can think of with the entrance to major process, so students can be aware of all the policies and things to expect. Any other questions? Okay, but we'll have time at the end for questions too, if you think of something. Okay, so again, first year, exploring majors, confirming they're in the right major. and then they hit the credit window. A lot of things happen, need to have the certain classes, the GPA, and then they'll be in their major and assigned a faculty advisor. Before Victoria talks about that, I just want to say, in their first 2 years, students will see an advisor in the College of Engineering Advising Center, and students will have an assigned advisor that they can see whoever they want, depending on when they come in as a walk-in or whose schedule works with them. We take detailed notes about our appointments, so if a student happens to see a different advisor, they'll know the history of the conversations. But if a student really, connects with their advisor or connects with any advisors, they can always request that specific advisor. And we are there, there's 4 professional advisors, we're there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We do walk-ins, students can make appointments by going online or calling or stopping by. And we try to be as available as possible for students. Yeah. Well, with all this talk about students needing high GPAs, Victoria's going to talk about what students do to be successful in terms of studying.
Thank you, Laura.
Yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria. Today I'm just going to share a little bit about my experience from a student perspective. I get so many questions from parents every day, and one of the most common one is, Victoria, is engineering a lot of time commitment? Do you study a lot? The answer is yes, I do study a lot, and engineering is a lot of time commitment. But here I just want to touch upon the point that here at Penn State we have a lot of great resources to help your students succeed. For example, we have study groups. One of my friends, she is a Camp 110 facilitator, so what she does is she holds review sessions before midterms and finals to help you get prepared. Also, attending office hours is also really important. I remember when I was I think it was my sophomore year, I was doing one problem from the textbook, and it was so hard. I had no idea how to do it. And then my friend said, why don't you just go to your professor's office hour? I said, that's a really good idea. So I just went to my professor's office, and he explained every single thing to me. I said, wow, this is really impressive. And afterwards, when I walked outside his office, I realized he was the person who wrote the textbook. Sometimes you might have some surprises. But professors and TAs, they all hold office hours, and they're super, super friendly. They're really willing to help you succeed. So definitely take advantage of that. Also, we have free tutorings. I remember when I was a freshman, Math 140 was a really challenging class for me. In the first week, I was even thinking about dropping that class. But then I signed up for one of the tutoring group, and I met with my tutor twice a week, and I was able to get an A at the end of the semester, which I was really, really happy about. So I really appreciate all the help that I got from Penn State. So definitely let your student know that all of these resources are available to them. But at the same time, a lot of people also ask me, Victoria, do you actually have time to have fun, and do you have hobbies? The answer is yes. Actually, I'm currently in synchronized swimming club, and I practice twice or 3 times a week, and every time 3 hours-ish. It's a lot of fun, and I got a chance to know a lot of people, and I even met my best friend there. So it's really sweet, and it's definitely worth it. And here at Penn State, we have more than 1,000 clubs. So if students just want to join some sports clubs, we do have it. So it's random clubs. I know we have a pizza club. So what people do is they just gather together on a Saturday night and then just order pizzas. So a lot of things that you can imagine. And if they can't find the one that they want, they can always create their own. They just need to have 7 members sign up for the club, and also academic advisor to agree, and that's it. So definitely let them know this. I'm also involved in Engineering Ambassadors. So it's an organization to promote science and engineering through effective communication. So we also give tours, we do outreach events in local high school and middle schools. So if your students are really into public speaking and also just reaching out to younger generations, let them know that opportunity as well. On top of that, I'm also doing undergrad research, and it's also a lot of fun. I got a chance to know different people I work with. Awesome experience for me. I'm going to talk a little bit more about research later on, but I think, it's really important for students to know that college is a great opportunity for them to learn how to manage their time wisely. There are a lot of things going on, but as long as you can manage the time wisely, then you can do everything you want. And I think college is the best time, to explore themselves and just do as many of the things they want, and then they'll succeed and become 100 engineers.
I think this is a good reason why students should get involved with that young organization too, because as advisors, we can say some of the same things to students, but it doesn't mean quite as much as it does coming from students who've lived it, so thank you. Okay. Some things to be aware of, deadlines that your students should mark on their calendar. During the first 6 days of the semester is the drop-add period. So during this time, students will often make changes to their schedule, and it's fine. There's not going to be any long-term consequences of making changes during this time. For example, if a student got credit for Math 140, Calculus 1 from their AP exam, but they're not quite sure they're ready to move on to 141. But they're not sure they want to stay in 140 either. A student could schedule 141, the higher level class, and in the first few days figure out, oh, this is going to move a lot faster than I'm ready for, and then they can bump down into the lower level class. We prefer that to the opposite, going for the lower level class and then switching into a higher level and being a few days behind in the new course. We'll also see students drop out general education courses. So maybe somebody took US history, but they got there and they felt like, I think there might be a better class for me, and they can drop it and take maybe a literature class. So that's the first 6 days of the semester. Then comes the late drop period. After this time, if a student needs to get out of a class, it will be a late drop. Late drops are listed on a student's transcript, but instead of a letter grade, it's withdrawal no grade, and it's not going to impact the GPA. Late drops can impact things like scholarships and financial aid and athletic eligibility, so there are things to take into consideration when doing a late drop, but most of the time if a student is not going to earn a C in class, late drop is the best choice to help save their GPA. So when students are considering this, we encourage them to come in and talk to an advisor, double check with financial aid, talk to their families to decide whether or not it's going to be the best choice. Also, of course, talk to their professor to really get a sense of how they're doing in the class. Every once in a while, we'll have a student with a semester where just, everything goes wrong, or there was a major life event that caused them to be unsuccessful in most of their classes. So up until the last day of classes before finals week is the withdrawal period. If a student's getting mostly D's and F's in their entrance major classes or key classes, they should consider withdrawing. Again, the classes will support systems here at Penn State to help students, but of course one of their biggest support systems is their families. So we'll often ask students, what's helpful for you in terms of what your family can do, and these are some of the things that they think about. So when Victoria was talking about going to see professors, and a lot of students are really intimidated to go see a professor during their office hours if they've never done it before. This expert in the field, they think they're going to be, really kind of scary, but in reality, they're just people like you and me, and students need sometimes a little push to go take advantage of those things. So just listening to students, encouraging them, kind of reminding them of certain things. Like, for example, the entrance to major requirements, keeping an eye on, it looks like you're getting close to that window. Is everything in place? Just double check so the students know, that you're aware of what they need to do to be successful. Do any of you have older students already in college? Do any of you have advice for parents who may be going through this for the first time? Yes.
I think the office hours are great. Talk to the professor, they get to know you, the referrals later, then parents.
Yeah, definitely. So he said the office hours is a really good suggestion. I think a lot of times too, in not all classes, but in some classes, if a professor sees you're really making an effort and your grade is right on the edge, they will take that into consideration in some classes.
Attend every single class.
Yes, attend every single class. That's
80%
huge.
is showing up.
Right, right. So a lot of times students think, oh, I know this, I don't need to go to class, and they miss out on attendance points and miss important material.
Question, what is the class size of most of the engineering classes? How many students per class?
Did you want to take this one?
Okay, so a lot of people think, we have, Penn State is a huge school, so of course we're gonna have big lectures. Everybody's gonna sit with 200 or 300 students every day, but that's not 100% true, because we do have large-scale classes like physics 211, Chem 110, they do have lectures. However, we break it down into recitations and labs, where students can work with 2 or 3 other students. So I think that's a really good way of learning, because you learn materials from the lectures where you're sitting with 200 or 300 students, but then you apply the knowledge to the labs and recitation, and you work with 2 or 3 other students where students develop your own critical thinking. So that's how I think.
Yeah, there's quite a range. And in their first year composition class that they'll take in the spring, there'll be about 25 students, but maybe, they're in another class with 100 or 300. So it really vary.
Yeah, and also when they, after they enter the major, it's gonna be a smaller scale class. So for now, usually my class has about like 30 to 40 students.
The juniors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
What is the difference between 140 and 140E, and what is your advice on which to take?
Right. So calculus is 2 versions. The regular is 140, and then there's a version for engineering majors. Both cover the exact same math concepts. So a student can choose to take either, and it's fine. The 140E is for engineering majors, and some of the examples that they look at are going to be more related to engineering. So some students prefer that. At this particular point in time, there's more sections available I think there's more available of the 140 than the 140E. So a lot of times students will just choose based on what time works best for them. We actually found out earlier today that space is very limited right now in the calculus classes. So we're working with the math department. They will be adding more seats. But if your student leaves today and they're not registered for calculus, don't worry. They'll certainly be in a math class before school starts in the fall. As you may know, Penn State had a huge, unexpectedly huge incoming class, and so all the different departments are adding seats as they're needed. Any other advice to share with parents? Great. Mostly it's important for students to begin taking more steps to adulthood and doing what they can for themselves instead of always having mom or dad call and take care of things. As advisors, we strongly encourage students to come in on their own and take responsibility. Sometimes parents want to be a part of the conversation, and that's fine. If we're meeting with your student and you want to do like a conference call, we can certainly do that. Parents can also call and ask us questions, but we can't release any information specific to your student. But if you have a general question, you can describe a scenario and say, well, what would a student's options be in this case? We can answer those questions as well. Okay, so students have a lot of opportunities beyond just taking classes, and so Victoria's going to talk again about some of those.
Now I'm going to share a little bit about my experience in terms of getting a co-op, internships, as well as undergrad research. So if you're not really familiar with the difference between a co-op and an internship, a co-op is just a longer internship. Usually internship is 2 months or 3 months over the summer. However, a co-op could be a little bit longer. It could be 5 months, 7 months, or even longer. So for example, I did a co-op with Volvo Group Trucks down in Maryland, Hagerstown, and I did 7 months straight. So what I did was I took off the entire spring semester. So so I didn't take any classes at that time. I was working as a full-time engineer at Volvo. And then at the end of my first rotation, so my first spring semester, my boss asked me, oh, I was wondering if you want to stay through the summer. I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I started my second rotation, which is the summer, so that's another 2 or 3 months. So I did 2 rotations. Good thing about this is we get credits for these. If students can get 3 rotations, and then they get 3 credits, and that credits can count toward their electives. They count towards their general electives. So that's something that probably you want to keep in mind. So I love my co-op experience. I learned so many things that I wouldn't be able to learn from the textbooks. So I highly encourage students to explore things and get a co-op or internship if they want. I think also co-ops, if you're super sure what you want to do, definitely go for a co-op. If you're not really sure, this is the right industry or this is the right thing to do, maybe go for an internship because that's 2 or 3 months. If you don't like it, you can switch to something else. But I definitely love my long-term experience because I was exposed to the engineering field and I got my hands dirty and I was really happy about the experience. And I still have, I'm still keeping contact with all the people that I work with. That's also a really nice thing. But how can you get an internship? I definitely highly encourage students to go to the career fair. So if you don't know about this, Penn State has one of the largest career fair around the world. Every year we have more than 300 companies just coming here, specifically hiring Penn State students. It's definitely highly encourage them to go because when I was a freshman, I went there because my professor said, oh, Victoria, if you go there, you get extra credits. So I said, you know what, I'm going. So I went to the career fair and I got my resume ready. Went to the career fair. I was overwhelmed by the entire career fair because there were so many people and a lot of people were waiting in the line, and a lot of companies that I've never heard of. I went there and I saw Volvo's stand. I was like, oh, wow, this is the only company that I know and that's really close to me. So I just kind of, I was waiting in the line. But I think that's a really good thing because, that was my first time and I was really, really scared. I was waiting in the line, trying to hear people's conversations, see what they're asking and what they're talking about. When it was my turn, I started talking to the employer and they said, Victoria, your resume looks good, but currently we're not hiring freshmen. That's probably, what you're going to be hearing all the time. Companies, they're not interested in freshmen. However, there's something that I want you to know that might not be the perfect thing, but it's the right thing to do. So my second year, when I was a sophomore, I went to the career fair again, and then introduced myself to Volvo again and said, wow, Victoria, you're back. They remembered me. And then, after we talked for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they said, I was wondering if you're interested in getting a co-op with us. So definitely, talk to people and get to know people and do a research. I think that's definitely a really great opportunity for them to do. So I felt I was really lucky. I was able to do that co-op, and I definitely enjoyed that. So I think that's where the internship was. But also here at Penn State, we have a career office. We offer resume editing and also cover letter editing. We have engineering career envoys. So they are students who have had internships before. So they hold office hours. We give students suggestions on how to write their resumes or just give them any advice they need. Before I went to my co-op, I was a little nervous. So I went to one of the engineering envoy office hour and we talked for 30 minutes. And I was really happy, I learned how to get housings and everything. So that's really, really helpful. So definitely let them know that as well. I think that's enough for co-ops and internships. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about undergrad research. So when I think it was at the end of my sophomore year, I started, knowing about undergrad research. So I applied and then got the position. There's so many ways that students can get undergrad research positions. They could go online. There's a website called REU. That's where students can find research jobs postings. And just email the professor if they're interested. Also, sometimes you can just talk to the professor. Go to their office hour and ask, what project they're working on, maybe you're interested in. So definitely just talk to people and get to know more about the research experience. I think especially for students that, maybe they're thinking about going to get their master's degree, maybe getting a research opportunity would be a really good decision. So currently I'm working on 2 projects. One of them is called Sneezing Project. So what we're doing is we just 3D printed a human model and we're injecting fluids at the bottom of the model to see what's happening when people sneeze. It's a really cool project to work on. The second one is called, it's a virtual reality related project. So think about this. Maybe in the future one day you are able to interact with objects in a virtual world. So that's kind of what we're working on now. So I just built a environment where I can pick up a book from the virtual world and then drop it off on a table. So that's something that I'm working on currently. And if you want to know more about it, I'm going to be here after the presentation. If you have any questions about co-ops, research, or any questions that you can think of, I'm here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we have someone from the Engineering Global Education Office who's going to present. He is not yet here. So after that presentation, we always take questions. So what we can do is we can take questions now. And let me, I'll just pull up this presentation. One second. Too many things. Okay. Okay, so when he arrives, would you mind going down the hall and seeing if
Yeah.
he's on his way? Okay, so what questions do people have at this point? Yes.
For the co-ops and internships, and
Now until the first 6 calendar days of the semester. So that's what we'll often tell the students who are agonizing over, their general education course is say, go home, you can come over, have all the time you want. So they can continue to kind of change it a little bit, and what we really want them to learn today is using the tools to figure out what classes they need to take first, and then how to put them on their schedule. Because Penn State recently changed computer systems, and the new system is not very user friendly, so this time in the lab with students and advisors is really helpful.
So they could make a change then, like if something were to come up, they could make a change.
Yes, they could make changes. A big one was prior to this week, students had not yet received their AP scores. So then everybody was getting their AP scores and having to make some changes. Hi, Seth. Good. We were a little speedy today, so. Yeah, well, we could take a couple more questions. Yeah, that's good. Yes.
we're about to purchase a computer for our daughter, and is there a recommendation of which type of computer to get?
There is a website that lists minimum specifications for computers, but overall there's not a specific recommendation. Do you want to share your experience with it?
Yeah, sure. Also, usually I just suggest students just stick with whatever they're comfortable with. For example, if you've been using Macs for a while, then just keep using Macs. If you've been using PC for a while, then just keep using PCs, because it might be a little bit hard to switch from one type to another operating system. But here at Penn State, we do have all the important softwares that install on all of our computers here on campus. So if they do need access to some sort of, let's say, SolidWorks, which is the 3D modeling software that you're going to be using at least their first year, we have that all installed on our computers. Because I know SolidWorks is not compatible with Mac, so there's no way that you can use SolidWorks on Macs. However, we do have a website that's called Penn State Apps, where you can remotely access to the software. So if you're using a Mac, you can still use SolidWorks, but instead of installing that on your computer, you just remotely use that software on a Penn State platform. So there's no good and bad, which one is the best. It's just which one you're comfortable with.
Yeah, well, we've had the, what's the one that we have? We've had PC based, and she's always wanted a Mac. And so, you're suggesting that she does not switch, even though she always wanted a Mac?
If that's what she wants.
She really wants a Mac.
Yeah,
But
that's
who
what
knows
she
why?
wants.
I think Macs are very user friendly. It's easy for a PC user to switch to Mac, and
Yeah.
Macs are nice. They're streamlined and great battery life and things like that. So I can
Okay.
understand why somebody would want a Mac. And the nice thing about Macs is if you buy it now, it should last all 4 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question about the co-op.
Uh-huh.
You said if you do 3 rotations, that's equal to 1 class, is that what did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so each rotation is 1 credit. And if you do 3
And a rotation is how long?
Hmm?
How long is a rotation?
Usually it's 1 semester or a summer. So 1 semester, 1 summer, 1 semester, that counts 3 rotations.
So but that equals 3 credits.
Yeah, that
So
goes.
when you're in a co-op, you're taking the whole semester off, basically from schoolwork.
Yeah.
But you're only earning 1 credit instead of 15 credits that you would earn in school.
Yes.
So what happens, like, are you now graduating later than you normally would?
Oh, thank you. That's a really, really good question. A lot of people ask that. So what I did was over the summer, I was actually taking 2 classes while I was taking co-op.
Like
So,
online?
yeah, so I'm still able to graduate on time because I've been catching up on my classes. So sometimes I might take 1 class extra during the normal semester, and I've been taking summer classes since then. So if you don't mind, taking another semester, because you probably get another season ticket, or if you just want to, get it done within 4 years, then you can try to squeeze that into your schedule by taking summer classes or online classes.
So you could take your co-op and take like a class or 2 online,
Yeah, yeah.
something like that to stay on track.
Yeah, I was taking online classes while I was doing it.
But everybody's individual case is different. Some people value the professional experience, even if they're not earning credits for that particular semester, and it means, tacking a semester on later on. But so everybody needs to work with their advisor, their faculty advisor, to figure out what's going to be best for them. Okay, well, we will be here after Seth's presentation about study abroad if you have more questions. But for right now, I'm going to turn it over to him.
How's everybody doing today? I'm sorry that at Penn State we're in the business of creating world-class engineers, and studying abroad is a huge part of that. So, what are the benefits of studying abroad? Well, first of all, it encourages personal growth, and this is a huge one, guys. For those of you who have sent students abroad or will send students abroad, you're going to see this. Your student's going to go abroad, and when they come back, you're not even going to recognize them. It increases adaptability, self-confidence, resourcefulness, cultural awareness, language skills, and more. And guys, this is stuff that interviewers are going to know about. When they hear that students have studied abroad on their resumes, they're really going to be looking for these traits in your students. And that brings me to our second point. It makes you more marketable. I can't tell you how many times students come to me and they say, I just had my first interview and we spent 5 to 10 minutes talking about my internship or my co-op. And we spent the next 20 minutes talking about the time I spent in China studying renewable energy resources, or my summer in Germany studying mechanical engineering. Interviewers are very interested in hearing about this, and if anything, it makes your students stand out. They're going to hear a lot of stories about students who went and had co-ops or had internships, but they're going to remember that student that went abroad. And lastly, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I know you guys don't like to hear this, but pretty soon after your students graduate, they're going to have full-time jobs, they're going to get married, they're going to have kids, they're going to be real people with real responsibilities, and they're not going to be able to just pick up and go explore the world. This is going to be their best opportunity to do that. So I encourage you guys to, bring it up, let them know it's an option, start thinking about it. So there are 2 main misconceptions that keep some of our students from studying abroad. The first one being that studying abroad is impossible for an engineering student who wants to graduate within 4 years. And the second one is that studying abroad is frivolous and expensive. So let's take a closer look at those. First of all, studies show that studying abroad does not risk delaying graduation. In fact, we find that students who study abroad are statistically more likely to graduate within 4 years. We're also finding that students who study abroad are finding jobs on average twice as fast as their peers who don't study abroad. And most interestingly, students who study abroad are making on average $7,000 more in their starting salaries. It's for that reason that we like to think of studying abroad more as an investment opportunity than it is an expense. Let's look at that second misconception. Studying abroad is expensive. So this price sheet was made using Penn State's tuition calculator. You guys can go find this on our main website, psu.edu, and you can plug in the numbers for your individual student. This was made for a junior studying mechanical engineering. They're attending University Park and they're paying in-state tuition. So down there at the bottom you can see in the spring they're taking 17 credits, they're paying about $17,000. This is for the same student, only they're paying out-of-state tuition. So you can see down at the bottom they're paying about $24,000 for the spring. Now this is the price sheet for one of our more popular study abroad programs. This is at the National University of Singapore. We tried to pick a middle-of-the-line program as far as price goes. You can find a price sheet like this along with every single one of our programs. Some are more expensive than this, some are less expensive than this, but we tried to find something that was representative of the whole. I apologize if it's difficult to see. Up top you have the billable subtotal, which is the actual price of the program. So for an in-state student, $9,600. For an out-of-state student, about $17,000. And then down at the bottom, we have non-billable subtotal, all the estimated costs. So the plane ticket, housing, meals, additional personal expenses, which essentially comes down to souvenirs and any trips your student chooses to take outside of the curriculum. They have a student spending $2,500 in 4 months. I don't know any students that spend that much money that quickly, but you know, you never know. So take that one with a grain of salt. But down at the bottom we have the estimated total price. $17,800 for an in-state student and $24,800 for an out-of-state student. So comparing that to that chart we looked at before for an in-state and out-of-state student studying at University Park for 4 months. A student studying at the National University of Singapore for the same amount of time would only spend an extra $700 if they're in-state and an extra $850 if they're out-of-state students. I can't think of any opportunity in a lifetime that allows you to go and live in Singapore for 4 whole months for only an extra $850. The other thing to consider is that by going abroad, your student is going to open themselves up to a plethora of scholarships. It's going to be very, very easy for them to make up that extra less than $1,000. We offer a scholarship through our office called the International Travel Grant. It's open to all engineers traveling abroad. It averages $1,500 per student. We also have scholarships available through our University Office of Global Programs, through the U.S. government, through the schools, or governments of countries that your students choose to travel to. Lots of scholarship opportunities, and we can tell your students all about them. So, what program types are available to students? Well, we offer programs from the summer all the way through the spring every semester. There are programs that go abroad for as short as 2 weeks over the summer. Students can go abroad, come back, and still have time for that internship or the summer job. Or we have programs that go abroad for the entirety of the summer. We also have programs that go abroad the entire fall, the entire spring. Some students are choosing to go abroad in the fall and stay abroad for an entire academic year, and these students are still graduating on time. So I want to stress that there is something for everyone, but the earlier your students come and talk to us, the easier it's going to be for them. We have students come and talk to us as juniors and they say, I really want to go abroad, and we're able to send these students abroad. But their options are limited. Whereas when students come to us as freshmen and they say, I want to study abroad, where can I go? The honest answer is wherever you like, so long as you take the time to plan ahead. So I encourage you guys, bring this opportunity up with your students, let them know that they're available. They can come see us in the fall and we'll help them decide whether it's for them. The earlier they get started, the more opportunities are going to be open to them. So for students who do choose to study abroad, we have a number of opportunities available to augment that experience. We have our International Engineering Minor, our International Engineering Certificate. We also have 2 multi-semester programs, the Engineering Leadership and Development Minor, and HESI, our Humanitarian Engineering and Social Entrepreneurship Program. Now, these multi-semester programs are very interesting. We're actually having students take classes here at Penn State, and then as a class, they go abroad. They're actually receiving credit, going to third world countries, encountering real-life problems, and using practical engineering skills to create sustainable solutions. These are amazing programs. Students are coming back and they're monitoring what they've done abroad for several semesters after the fact to make sure that what they did abroad is truly sustainable. This is real-life engineering skills. I can't tell you how much interviewers love to see this on a student's resume, and it's also just an incredibly fulfilling experience for the students who are participating. So again, please just let your students know that opportunities like this are available, and if they want to come talk to us, we can tell them all about them. So for students who want more information on the subject, we have a bunch of students who have gone abroad in the past. They've come back, now they have office hours, 20 office hours every week. Those are our study abroad representatives. They're there to talk to students about anything from the application process to choosing a program, or even just telling students what it's like to be that far away from home for the first time ever. You know, a lot of students have never gone abroad before, they're nervous about it. That's a resource for them to talk to. Students can also talk to us, Global Engineering Education. We're always happy to talk to students, walk them through the process of applying, using study abroad in an interview, or putting it on their resume. We have a Facebook page where we like to post upcoming events, info sessions for study abroad programs that students might like to go to. We also have a website that's currently in development, www.engr.psu.edu/global. We're hoping to have that up by the fall. Does anybody have any questions?
The classes taken abroad, do you get a letter grade for it, or you get a
If students are going abroad on a Penn State approved program, which there are over 300 Penn State approved programs, you can find them all on our website, they will be receiving a letter grade. It will be affecting their GPA. We actually don't allow students to take classes on a pass-fail basis while they're abroad.
And does that count, those credits, do they count toward 40 to 59?
Yep, because they're seen as Penn State credits.
Yes. And we actually have a requirement in the college that says that if students are going abroad before they've completed all of their entrance to major requirements, they will have to take entrance to major requirements while they are abroad. The only exception to that is students who choose to go abroad over the summer.
Can they go abroad on a non-Penn State approved program and just transfer credits?
If they transfer credits from a non-Penn State approved program, then it will be coming in as transfer credits, so they won't get that letter grade or the PSU course number. We don't suggest students go on a non-Penn State approved program just because there's a number of benefits that come in with going on those Penn State approved programs. We're not actually even allowed to advise students who are not going on a Penn State approved program for liability reasons.
How about language requirements? Are there any special languages needed for particular programs?
So, like I said, there's over 300 programs university-wide that have that are study abroad. So, our students are able to go on any of them. Any ones that are run specifically through our engineering office do not have a language requirement. So students can go abroad with zero language ability. They do have the opportunity to study foreign language while they're going abroad. However, some of the programs outside of the College of Engineering, which the students would still be able to go on, may have that language requirement. And all of that will be spelled out on the application page so students can check out whether or not they meet the requirements.
Some of the summer programs, even the short ones, do they all have credit potential, or is it really dependent on how well?
Any Penn State approved program that our students are going on is going to give credit. There are programs that give as little as 3 credits, and there's ones that go abroad for a very short amount of time, so students can get 3 credits in as little as 2 weeks. Or we have summer programs where students are going abroad and they're taking 9 credits over the course of a month and a half. If a student is going abroad during the semester, so in the fall or the spring, they are required to take at least 12 credits, a full PSU course load. But most of our students, when they're going abroad during the semester, they're taking 14 to 16 credits just like they would here at University Park. All right. Well, if there's no more questions.
So, if you do go study abroad, is it 3 months, like what is it?
So there are a lot of varying program lengths. Usually students who are going abroad during the semester are going to go for the entirety of that semester. And typically speaking, that's going to vary based on what country they're going to. Most countries are going to have semesters similar in length to what we have here in the US, but some countries are going to go as long as 6 months in the spring. Over the summer, there's a lot more variation. So again, we have those programs that go for 2 weeks, we have programs that go for a month and a half, even programs that go for a full 3-month summer. So there's a lot of different options for students. If they're not feeling up to going abroad for the entire summer, maybe they want to dip their toes in first, they can do those shorter programs to try to go on.
So as far as the Penn State courses that you would get credit for, if you took a course that's similar to Math 250, let's say, does that just show up as Math 250 on your transcript?
Yes, and the way that works is students are going to get their programs, the courses that they plan on taking abroad, pre-vetted before they go. So they go see someone in their department. That person will review the courses and look at the Penn State course list and see what it matches most closely, so they can tell your student before they go abroad what that credit they're transferring back will come as.
Do they have to complete a certain number of credits before they go abroad, like freshman year has to be done 30 credits or?
So they're not required to complete a certain number of credits. Again, they do have that requirement with the entrance to major credits, unless they are taking, if they're going abroad before their entrance to major credits are completed during the fall or the spring, they are required to have entrance to major credits on their course list while they're abroad. That being said, most of our students aren't going to go abroad before, the earliest they could go abroad is the summer after their freshman year, just because the application period doesn't start until the end of the fall, and applications are due in the spring. All right, well, if there's no other questions, my office is right down the hall in 204. If anybody thinks of anything else they'd like to ask, please feel free to stop by.
So we answered a lot of questions earlier. Does anybody have additional questions for me or Victoria? About advising or entrance to major? Okay, great. Well then, it is 2:30, so we're right on time.